Some question?
Yes, there are some questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The first one is, if the body is the outcome of the soul's delusion, a so-called straitjacket for the soul, then what new opportunities for service does svarup give?
Well, I think I said the body is the biological expression of the soul's delusion. So, in subjective evolution of consciousness, Srila Guru Maharaj speaks about the chit jagat and the achit jagat. And the conscious world, the unconscious world, or what sometimes referred to as the material world, spiritual world, material world, world of spirit, world of matter, consciousness, unconsciousness. So, Srila Guru Maharaj, he says there's a Vedic saying also, asango hayam purusha, that although we talk about being contaminated consciousness, jiva, soul, etc., we're reminded in this Vedic aphorism that the soul's never actually touched by it. Right? It's a peculiar situation. So, how does all of this transpire or take place? As the soul that's in the chit jagat, the spiritual conscious plane, it needs to have a shadow representation of itself to navigate the mundane. So he introduces the concept of chid abhas. There's that word again. Chit abhas means a semblance of consciousness. Because remember, we're not talking about the way, doctors are, he's conscious. No, that's not what we mean. When it says a semblance of consciousness, it really means Krishna consciousness. Because that's what consciousness is meant for. Bhagavan. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabhyate. It's not some generic, abstract concept of consciousness. It means awareness of Krishna and one's relationship with Krishna. Bhayam Ditiya Binibeshi Tatshat. In forgetfulness of that, we're dealing with a world that fills us with anxiety, and particularly in relation to mortality. But to get to that point, Guru Maharaj said there must be chidabhas, or what he calls chayabhas, a shadow representation of the original. Right? Like you can see, and I mentioned recently this quote from Shakespeare for the literary minded. Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard from no more. A tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. On a happier note, is the svarup and its possibility, as opposed to shadow world. So, chidabhas means the shadow representation of the soul. So the mind is a shadow representation of the spiritual mind, the intellect, etc. And in the absence of serving function, and deluded by the satanic mania of reigning in hell. By the way, reign, it doesn't mean like it's raining out. It's R-E-I-G-N, like to be king or queen. Because I don't know what's happening. Reigning in hell, how does that work? I guess you hear many new things when you come to Krishna. It'll be raining in hell. And, No, means to be king or queen. That type of reign, R-E-G-R-E-I-G-N, right? Yeah. So he calls it satanic mania. Right? And just like a person who's under the influence of some maniacal thoughts, they're not themselves. Right? They're envisioning themselves as a king, a queen, or of many things, but it has nothing to do with their actual identity. Right? So in the classic stereotype, you have the doctors and nurses sort of humoring them. Napoleon, can we speak to you? Yes. But he's not Napoleon. They're trying to. It's some sort of therapy. They want to. Everything else is okay. They want to remove the mania. Then the original identity comes. But anyway, back to this: life's but a walking shadow. Chirabas, chayabas. So the soul cannot touch matter, right? On account of its nature. It cannot. That's asango hyayam purusha. It cannot deal with any of these things. So there has to be a shadow representation, and upon that shadows, the ego. They are the shadows in varying degrees. Ego, intelligence, mind. Bhumir apo analo vayu kamano buddhireva cha. Ahankara itiyame bina prakritirastadha. Krishna, Bhagavad Gita 7 chapters. These are all material energy, not spiritual. They're material. In the next verse, he says, apareyam itastvanyam pakritim. There's that word again. Vidi me param. There's a superior type of prakriti. What is that? Jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. That are infusing life into the universe and animating it. But Guru Maharaj has given this original concept, but it's just not the soul then in illusions just manipulating matter. No, there's some gradual, we have evolution, devolution, from the soul's actual position to be the ahankar, a false ego, intelligence, mind, the subtle body upon which a gross body is developed. Again, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita has that. Where he says, Mam evangsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manak shastrani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. Anyway, it's around there. He says, the way Prabhupada rendered this is very nice. He said they're seated on a machine made out of material energy. Like that. So, and how is it decided? What type of ego, what type of intellect, mind, body, etc.? So I said, biological expression of the soul's delusion. Jalaja navalakani stavro lakavingshati. So many types of aquatics, plants, insects, trees, birds, beasts, animals, human beings. Right? In terms of the expressed exploiting tendency, a particular body gives that. So it says a particular type of mind and senses. Isn't it? Yeah, that's yantram mudjani mayaya. That's the one I'm looking for. Just forget the first line. Yantram means here, machine. That's what it's compared to. So the soul, enveloped in this shadow representation of itself, and the forms of ego, intellect, mind, etc., then you can, drink a glass of water. Or, tap the table. The soul, otherwise it cannot interact with the mundane. Then Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jeev, or Tasmad, or what is that? No. Tasyeva hetu prayate to kovido, na labyate Brahma uparyada. And both of these, right? Wandering in the universe. What is the universe? It's the world of misconception. We're riveted to these things and thinking in terms of, elements and planets and spatial relationships. But at the heart of the matter, it's the world of misconception. That's what's generated all of this. Why Guru Maharaj quotes Berkeley saying, the world is in the mind. Which is easily parodied, because the typical misunderstanding of that is people say, oh, this is all in our mind. This isn't really here. I see. Or I mentioned Woody Allen in one of his, right? He says, if nothing exists, it's all in our mind. He said, then I definitely overpaid for the refrigerator I bought last week. Taking it to the natural conclusion. But that's not what Berkeley is saying when he says the world is in the mind. He's saying all these things, they're the outcome of consciousness. And we can say polluted consciousness or contaminated consciousness. Thinking in the wrong way. And in the Bhagavatam and elsewhere, there are, intricate descriptions of how it is that spirit can be apparently for some time converted into matter. Beginning with the description of so they're called energies, right? Of which there's Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. And I'm not now, nor am I qualified to give an elaborate description of that. Sometimes Guru Maharaj has. But how, and that's his advice to us. Saying the world, we're preoccupied with thinking like, how these elements that we observe and the biology we observe, how does this all get to the point of generating consciousness? We're fascinated by that idea. And we think we have, we don't really know, but have a pretty good idea, slowly, gradually, through the process of evolution, this happens. Till one day you have, something becoming conscious of itself. Right? That's the ticket, right? Being conscious of yourself. Right? Guru Maharaj said, rather, we should try and understand how it is that consciousness can generate all of this. That should be researched. Right? We're told, this is hard. It has weight. It's soft, hard, has length, width, breadth, dimensions. Right? It has a color. And Guru Maharaj says, and what are those? Those are all subjective concepts. So what is this? It's a cluster of subjective concepts. When you get many of them together, they make a table or a world. So navigating the world of misconception that's designed for that, actually. From gross misconception to very subtle misconception. That's why there's all these planetary systems. According to Veda, 14 planetary systems. Means levels of going from gross misrepresentation to subtle misrepresentation, but all misrepresentation. Dvaita Bhadra, sub manudharm, a bal, a manda, a sub brahm. That this everything here is illusion, or like a dream world. So it's saying this is good or that is bad, it's all a mistake. The old saw, you can say, wet stool, dry stool. It's all stool. And interestingly, the Sanskrit word for, one of the Sanskrit words for matter is stool. S-T-H-U-L-A, stool. And it's the grossest type of mundane representation. So, navigating how? On the basis of exploitation, accepting oneself as the center, an egocentric world, and then from that position, trying to expand the circumference of one's exploiting capacity. That's generally what's going on, whether in animal society or in human society. Those sort of things. Taking oneself as the center, and the extension of that, extended selfishness, is everything that I deem important or significant or of value. That'll be the standard by which everything is judged. That's humanism in a nutshell. Taking yourself as the center. And then the more gross representations of materialism, Ayn Rand, who, interestingly, although she's from Petersburg and she's Russian, no Russian people know about her. But she was very popular in America with certain people. But no one in Russia knows who she is. She's just another woman from Petersburg. But she would say, the only basis for doing anything is self-interest. That should be your only motive under all circumstances, is whether it's in your perceived self-interest to do so. So that, and she calls her, interestingly, or ironically, or not, she calls her philosophy, or philosophy is referred to as materialism. That should be the only motive for action, is it in my self-interest? And to be fair, she's saying, you can do something nice for somebody else if you perceive that's in your self-interest. So indirectly, inadvertently, she's actually telling the truth about what's going on here. So Guru Maharaj, one of his original expressions, referencing altruism and humanitarian work, he said, it's extended selfishness. It's the outcome of selfishness. It's just extended selfishness. So first, what is mine, my family, and with children, what I like about them, observing them, is the naked truth. Well, I mean, in more ways than one, but they haven't learned how to hide yet, or lie, or different. So sometimes they're just very blunt. It takes them, they go, mine! They don't go, excuse me, but I was playing, that happens to, it's in my care. They just go, mine! Like, oh, okay. Later they learn to, soften it. I was playing with that, and it's, residing with me for some time. Not like that, right? And I saw this one YouTube video where this child has cookies all over his mouth, and his mother, she can tell, she's turned on the phone to get this. She goes, say that again, what you just said? And he goes, I only like you when you give me cookies. And she said, that's the only time? And he says, yes. And then she says, but I love you. And he says, I love you too, but I don't like you all the time. So he's just telling the truth, right? So why did I say that? Oh, about extended selfishness. Taking yourself as the center and assessing the relative value of something on the basis, does it perceive, fulfill what I perceive to be my self-interest? And the reason I'm saying this is ironic, as perhaps many things are, and with the mundane and its spectral opposite to what the spiritual is, the perverted reflection, is that really, like, tasmad gurum prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam shabde pare chanishnatam brahmanupasamashrayam jigyasu shreyam uttamam. It said, you should inquire, what is spiritual life about? What's the basis, and where does the shift take place? Is that when you inquire about what's ultimately beneficial for you, you're misconceiving, shreyas and preyas, you're misconceiving, you're thinking this short-term program for self-fulfillment is addressing your actual inner needs when it's not. It's not in your long-term interest. Look, even Stephen Hawking had the sense of humor to call his book A Brief History of Time. And you realize that's actually humorous, right? A brief history of time. But actually we can think, yeah, because it has, in one sense, this world of time and space has an incept date and an expiration date. Budva praliyate in Gita, Krishna said, and it'll happen again and again and again. But this is the realm, we're living in the realm of time and space. The spiritual world is not constrained by time and space. So we see when Krishna descends into this world with these eternal associates, and for the benefit of everyone, manifest his divine pastimes, sometimes they contradict the laws of physics and time and space. Right? He's lifting the Govardhan, or the Rasa Lila, we're told Brahmaratri, a night of Brahma. And we should say, how long is that? Check the Bhagavad Gita, Sahasra Yuga Parjantam, Ahor Yad Brahmanovidu. 1,000 yuga cycles, 4,300,000 years, 1,000 of those, that's a day of Brahma. What is it? 4,300,000,000. Brahmaratri means the same amount for the evening. So this Rasa Lila, the ultimate romantic dance, fulfills the aspiration of all romantics and lovers who want to, dance the night away forever, the never-ending embrace, all of these things that in their, we can say, their finer moments, human beings express, until they get a little older and more cynical and go, I should have listened to the cookie thing the kid was saying. Damn, that's true. It's true throughout, beginning, middle, and end. I should have known. Right? Till they become cynical about mundane prospects and possibility and relationship. Right? Why? Romeo and Juliet, why does it work? Because they're 14. That's why it works. See, they're not old. They're 14 years old, Romeo and Juliet, as far as I remember. Right? So it shows, like, in other words, they're not tainted yet by the world of experience. And even that, it's a tragedy, right? The way it ends. It shows, we could say, Krishna Prem is not a thing of this world. Look, even Romeo and Juliet, they don't get to have that here. What to speak of Krishna Prem. Right? But that said, why do we all want that? We're hardwired for Romeo and Juliet. That's why that story is so powerful. It was written hundreds of years ago. But that story and similar stories, they're the magnetic pull of that really is Krishna conception, if we could come to our senses and properly conceive things under the direction of Sadhu Shastra Guru Vaishnav. But that's what the pull is, that's what we want. Later, we're supposed to, there was a cartoon in the magazine, New Yorker. It's a literary magazine that's famous for literary type cartoons. And there's like the husband and wife who've been married for like forever, 40, 50 years. And he's like reading the paper and his wife's on the side. And he's responding to a question that she's asked him, which we can understand what that question is by his answer, because his answer is, what do you mean by love? So we understand her question is, do you still love me? And he's like, without putting the paper down, he's going, what do you mean by love? So now it's come to the point, like we're going to have to, what was very clear in the meaning, now we have to define and think and look at definition number 5, subsection C, Then we understand that other type of love that we hankered for from the beginning, the Romeo and Juliet, the pristine love that's unaffected by any mundane experience, that transcends everything and all the good things that we think that goes with it. We think, oh, yes, it's not a thing of this world. And then we hear about Krishna Prem, and Mahaprabhu was saying, and that's not a thing of this world. Krishna Prem, Hema, Jambu Nada. It's like the gold, the legendary rivers of gold in heaven. Nothing within your experience. But does that mean that it doesn't exist? No. I'm saying, but not in this plane. Then what is this plane? It's the world of illusion, based on exploitation. So another way to reframe this is say, it doesn't exist within the world of exploitation. Wherever you see that resembles that is extended selfishness, right? Which is based on a misperception of what is actually in your self-interest. So in answer to this question, the Bhagavatam says, Muktir hitvanyata rupam svarupena vibhastiti. When you get liberated from the world of exploitation, then the possibility of the svarup, your actual identity, and loving relationship, that becomes a reality. And everything that you were hankering for and dreamed of beyond your dreams, right? What do they say? The truth is stranger than fiction. Beyond your wildest dreams, that possibility is there in the upper world. And this, we can say, just for the sake of analysis, is what one of the reasons Devarshi Narada, he is chastising Veda Vyas, saying, you haven't clearly indicated to the people that what their prospect is in the Svarup world. You're telling them about, in this diseased condition, this world, what we just said, it's an illusion, it's a dream, it's a colossal hoax, it's all these things and more. Right? You're saying, we're in a diseased condition, and here's the way to get out of your diseased condition. And when you're cured of the disease, hridrogam, consumerism, which is, one of humanism's more outstanding products, consumerism. Back to, I want to consume. I want to acquire, control, and consume things that are lower than me to achieve happiness. One of the flaws of that type of thinking is that consciousness is superior to dull matter. So no amount or arrangement of dull matter will satisfy consciousness, which for some reason reminds me of the fish play. The old ISKCON play about a fish out of water. They're trying to satisfy him. He will only be satisfied when he goes back into the water environment. Srinvantu Vishe Amritasya Putra, the nectar world. can't live in the non-amrita, the mrityu. One of our Gurudev's beloved friends, he's in Calcutta. I forget, his original name was Mrityunjay, but he has another name. You know who he is.
Mira's husband?
No, this is in Calcutta near Koikali. There's Amalendu. This is another man. Anyway, I forget. And he has a son who's anyway. His original name is Mrityunjay. That means who is victorious over death. That's the point. Amrita is that which, in the generic sense, makes one deathless. But as Guru Maharaj pointed out, and he was speaking to me about the conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because I had just read the 12th canto. Right? Prabhupada translated up to 10, 14, 13, 14, around there. And the rest was done by his disciples. Anyway, it took some time to get to the 12th canto. So I just read the 12th canto and the last chapter, and I asked Guru Maharaj one afternoon something I saw that was puzzling, because it's a very short chapter. Remember, the last sloka of the Bhagavatam, very favorite to Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, is Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashan. I mean, you can Nama Sankirtanam, praising the holy name of Krishna. After the whole book is done, the very last sloka, Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkasamanas Tan Namami Harim Param. It's a very beautiful ending. But this chapter is very small. Even the 12th canto as a canto is very small. So I thought, these slokas, they must have some special significance. So one of them that begins by saying, Prishte Brahmyadamanda Mandarigiri Gravagya Kranduyana Nidralo Kamatarkrite Sasha Pantuva, something. It's very beautiful. It's about Kurma, the Kurma avatar. And it's encapsulating that pastime. Right? The Kurma avatar and the Mandara hill and the churning. And I thought, this is peculiar. Why is this? The Bhagavatam's reaching like this crescendo conclusion. And I mean, it's a wonderful pastime. Appears in the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam. Is it the 8th? Yeah. But I'm saying, why mention that again? Yeah. But it's the conclusion of the Bhagavatam, so it must be important. So at the time when I asked Guru Maharaj, he started to think, and I thought, oh Lord, I'm troubling. It's 4:00 in the afternoon, and I'm asking him some one of those questions, Yeah, and so I was going to start to say, Maharaj, you don't have to answer this now, because I thought I was troubling him, but actually he was doing what he says he does, scanning all the scriptures, the statements of Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Vinod and all the predecessor charges, their commentaries, the senior vice. He's looking all over this. And as I started to say, was going to say, you don't have to. Guru Maharaj said, what was the object of their churning? And it shows just the way he minds things ontologically. What you said is the basis is Ramananda Sambad. Remember, Ramananda and Mahaprabhu, they're mining. It's compared to in one place to mining. You get some iron ore or some copper and then, some silver. Then you mine more and you're getting gold. That's what it's saying they're doing. They keep mining, extracting one superior substance after another one, not the same substance. By going deeper, there's one substance and then a more valuable substance. When you go deeper, a more valuable substance and such. And at the very beginning of that, what does it say? How he empowered Ramananda, Sancharja, Rama Bida, Bhakta Meghe, Bhakti Siddhanta, Chayamritani, Gorabdir, Etar, Amuna, Vitirnais, something, Prayati. Saying that Bhakta Meghe, he's like a devotional cloud. Bhakti Siddhanta, Chayamrita. The Bhakti Siddhanta, there's an ocean of Bhakti Siddhanta that's full of so many valuable gems. And this Bhakta Meghe, Ramananda, he's like this cloud who's risen from that ocean, and he's full of these, and he's raining Siddhantic gems back on the ocean again, who is Mahaprabhu. That's like the opening sloka to that chapter, which is Guru Maharaj's favorite. So Guru Maharaj, in that same, he's mining the substance. He said, what was the object of their churning? Right? The Devas and the Asuras. There's the milk ocean and the Mandara hill, and they wrapped the celestial serpent Vasuki and like a churning rod. The Devas on one side, the Asuras on the other side. And the Mandara hill is churning. And what is it? It's on the back of Kurma, the Kurma avatar, which is very aprakrita and beautiful, because how Krishna plays and how the pastimes unfold inconceivably. He's supposed to be omnipotent. Right? Like in Govardhan, when thousands of hands are coming out to accept all the offerings from everyone. But here, we know, like a turtle cannot scratch his own back. Right? Everybody knows that. That would be unusual. So then you think like, well, certainly he's omnipotent. His hand can extend, if he has an itch, which is something to begin with is interesting. But he should be able to, reach that, right? A little further. But he can't, because he's a turtle. He appears as a turtle. So what does that mean? He needs someone else to scratch his back. That's Krishna's mercy. That's how Krishna allows us to participate. You say, what prospect is there? Well, here's an example. So, but this is not ordinary. How are they going to, he's a rather large size turtle on top of it all. So, he's in the ocean of milk. They put the Mandara mountain on his back, wrap Vasuki, celestial serpent, they're churning like this. So it's relieving the itch on his back as they churn. And simultaneously, like Lakshmi Devi is generated from the ocean, the moon. Krishna appears in the Chandrabhangsha. And what else? Indra's elephant. Airavata, Uchaya. Many divine things are being generated from this nectar. He said, what is the purpose? Just like when you churn milk, to get the cream. So they want to get Amrita. So if you read in an encyclopedia or somewhere, they will say, Amrita, that is the Sanskrit word for immortality. Right? And so that fits nicely in the stereotype of Western imagination. The gods, they want to achieve immortality. They want to live that's boring. The Bhagavatam is not boring. The Bhagavatam is not arranged to tell you stereotypical things, right? Starts with Narada chastising Vyas for saying, you didn't, it wasn't your idea, but inadvertently, what people got from you is religion. And they're thinking, I will be religious so that I can live in the world worry-free and successfully. So I can have a happy life in the mortal existence, basically. If you're religious, you can be happy in the world of suffering. He's saying, that's why, and they're going to quote you, Veda Vyas. He said, that's why, from no less than you, Veda Vyas, you have to tell them, no, there's another world beyond this one where they have possibility of life and all of its complexity and possibility. Parinistitopi naragunye uttama shloka lilaya grihita cheta rajar se akyanam yaraditavan. Sukadev, the loudspeaker for that, saying, you all know, I am a legend in my own time. Right? Never, not even a trace amount of mundane tinge. That's why he's uniquely qualified. And he passed the male-female Eros test, walking by the bathing Divya Devis. So you understand, Sukadev has no interest in mundane sensuality. But the sensuality of the pastimes of Radha, Krishna, and Braja Gopis, he says, captured him and carried his consciousness to a world he didn't know existed previously. Right? That's consistent with Narada telling Vyas, now, this is what you have to do in the Bhagavatam. Is the whole book really is about the prospect, that possibility, right, of that life in the upper world, and not in some generic sense about immortality. This is Guru Maharaj's point. He said, so what are they trying to achieve? Amrita. He said, but what is it really? It's not immortality. Right? He's saying what it is it means nectarine substance. And its most superficial aspect of representation means immortality. Right? Like Sat. Right? We have Sat, Chit, Anandam. Right? So he's saying, really, what is nectar? He says, what they're trying to get at, and why this is being mentioned in the 12th canto and a final chapter, is to say that the ultimate, what the Bhagavatam is presenting, is the ultimate nectarine substance that everyone should be seeking. Like search for Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. Akila Rasamrita Murti, Rasaraj, Krishna. So he's saying, Madhura Rasa is the Amritam. It's the creme de la creme of nectarine substances. And the Bhagavatam is telling you the pivotal point of material existence is erotic tendencies, and it's saying that has a place in the spiritual world. And that's why he told, and Vyas, you didn't make that clear. So people will think the only possibility for expressing, we'll use Sanyal and Saraswati Thakur's name, the erotic principle is in this world. You must make it clear that that and infinitely multiplied, magnified more is possible in that world. Machchita madgata prana bodhayantas parasparam katayanchas tamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So Guru Maharaj is saying in that nutshell sloka from the Gita, we're saying the devotees, when they're engaged in Krishna Katha, Hari Katha, in a substantial way, tushyanti, they're relishing nectarine substance, and to what degree? Tushyanti cha ramanti. Ramanti is a reference to the erotic principle. This type of pleasure is coming to them from this sort of activity. Madan Mohan, Govinda, Gopinath. Guru Maharaj said Why Madan Mohan is the Sambandhagyan deity of Sanatana Goswami? Because the whole world is pivoting on the erotic principle, Cupid. Right? What do we say today earlier? Oh, Anangotsavam. And one of the few slokas from the Gita Govinda, then the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vishve Shamanuranjanena Janayan Anandam Indivara Shreni Shamala Kamala. Anangotsavam. Ananga means the name of Cupid. Utsav means festival. Saying the Krishna is like Anangotsava, a festival for Cupid, the divine form of Krishna. So from Freud, the erotic principle is the driving force behind all of existence. It's not just an aspect, it's the driving principle. We'll say that much he got right before someone goes, well, there are many, forget it. Just making a reference. It's just a reference. Right? The driving principle of material existence. That's what all of this is about. Every species, and human beings included, this is the driving principle. This is why the world exists. Love makes the world go round, to put it in another way. Right? And he's saying, so that principle, Madan in Sanskrit, Cupid, the erotic principle, Madan Mohan. Krishna is so beautiful that only the beauty of Krishna is capable of breaking the stranglehold that Madan, the mundane erotic principle, has on Jiva. That's why it's not just some intellectual, philosophical matter, like, we'll sit around, that's very interesting. It's like life and death, make it or break it type interesting. That's what, it's not something like, it's esoteric and it's, the difficulty is, you cannot express it any more explicitly for risk of committing offense. But if you can do the math on what has been expressed thus far, then you're saying, what is your prospect? Whatever, just saying something, whatever you perceive of here as a source of happiness to the extreme or never-ending happiness, love, that can be realized there infinitely beyond what you've conceived thus far. That's why Rupa Goswami gives that sloka in the beginning, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Brahmanando Bhavedesha Chetparadha Guni Krita Naiti Bhakti Sukham Bodhe Paramanu Tulamapi. Remember, this is coming from Rupa Goswami. So you have to take it seriously. He says, Brahmananda, Ramante Yogino Anante Sachirananda Chiratme. The yogis are repulsed by mundane eroticism. Those who are experiencing Brahmananda. It's distasteful compared to what they're experiencing. Right? Repulsive. He's saying, so that Brahmananda, that spiritual happiness, multiply it 1 trillion-fold, and it's not equivalent to an atomic fraction of the pleasure of Krishna Bhakti Rasa. That is expressed by Rupa Goswami. So, as I mentioned, that's like an advertisement, right? From the most qualified person. And this is the comparison being given. That should pick the imagination, that sort of prospect and possibility. And not to then foolishly try and prematurely, pluck the unripened fruit. Not that kind of thing. Gurmar said, hearing something like that, what Rupa Goswami expresses, that should keep you calm in your present situation. Like, all right, let's just keep going in this direction. It's good. That's the ultimate. All right, okay, that's enough for me to know. to take another step, to walk further in this direction, to continue, to proceed. Remember we said, well, why all the gradual and the Vedas are only indicate? Well, now you can understand. If it's a trillionfold greater than that pleasure, is not, an atomic fraction of it, then we can understand why there has to be some direction indication, gradual, incremental progress in that direction. But that's where it leads. And Guru Maharaj's sloka, Yadamiya Mahima Sri Bhagavatam Katayam Pratipadam Anubhutam Vapya Labdhavideya Tadakila Rasa Murti Shyama Lila Avalamba Madhura Rasadi Sri Radha Padapadmam Prabhade. That although ostensibly her name is not mentioned, at every step of the way, it's all of this. And you have to remember this, for interpreting or assessing the value of anything. He's saying, it's all meant to take us in the direction of the service of her holy lotus feet. And who is she? That person, Shyamalila Avalambam. The Shyamalila, means Madhura Rasa, is all dependent upon her. And this whole book, which is about Krishna, right? So much so that Prabhupada called the 10th Canto the Krishna book. It's all about Krishna. If you want to understand Krishna properly, it's this way. And who is she? And that Ramananda Sambad, he's saying, Mahabhav Chintamani. She's, a jewel mine of Mahabhav. She's, what you want to understand anything about Krishna Prem, love of Krishna? She is that to its infinite degree, and can share that, nourish her servitors with that divine substance. But why the devotee? Like the mantra, it's interesting. There's so many mantras, right? What could possibly be better than Hare Krishna mantra? Like sometimes, Babaji, I'm not saying we should do this, but he would say, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare means, Radha, this mantra, that's Radha and Krishna. It's impossible for anything to be better than that. So we're very fortunate. And when Guru Maharaj got the Harinam from Saraswati Thakur, and that's what does it mean? Rama. It's Hare Rama. We say, oh, Hare Krishna, but what about Hare Rama? He said, Raman, Radha Raman. Rama also means Krishna, but this type of Krishna. Yeah. But the truth must dazzle gradually, or all men will go blind.